Khalil Herbert. He's in the spot. He's in the same spot as Denver last week, or as Miami last week. Mostert and Achane just went off against them, and now you get Chicago versus Denver, and people actually have interest in Fields this week because of that as well. You can play Khalil Herbert in this lineup. I'm playing it. Get Boyd out of there for a second. Go to Herbert. That's not a bad lineup, Pat.
It has Herbert in it.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 4, DraftKings Picks. Preview. We're not going to do by a position. We'll go by a team. We'll make some stacks, and we'll try to gauge some ownership here for you. Always smash the like. Always sub to Mayo Media Network. And please go to runthesims.com/Mayo. Get yourself 10% off because you, too, could be a millionaire, maker, winner, like my good friend in studio with me, Tambo. Have you won the least amount of money with the most Millie Maker wins?
Not quite, because it's 2 or 3 times now, but it's definitely the least amount of money on these Millie Maker wins. That's for sure. 74 of my closest friends, I believe it was last night, that get the job done, but still been close. So it was nice to close one up. Still can't get the King of the Beach seat. Got another second best unique lineup in one of these things. Like it's the third one in the last 4 slates of Showdown slates. So we're trying to get that seat. Want to get into that and see if we can stack those up. It's still nice to get a W last night. And we talked about it right here on the Mayo Media Network. We did the show, title, hoop, myself, went through, actually broke it down on Run the Sims and saw if the Detroit Lions win by a decent margin, what does that look like? And interestingly enough, it wasn't Goff and Amon-Ra that started to pop on Run the Sims. It was David Montgomery, huge captain leverage last night. That's who I used. I had a bunch of them everywhere. Everything that I had on the site, shipitnation.com, everything was covering him, and he ended up getting the job done for us.
Yeah, shipitnation.com with code MAYO will get you a discount, so I highly recommend that you check that out. Both those links are down in the description right now if you want to get in the game. Paul actually had some good success with the Run the Sims new tool, the prop sniper. It just gives you all the books, and it gives you the projection versus the total, and then it takes the VIG into consideration as well, and then it just points you to the book that has the best price. And Paul, it was just Montgomery, overs all day.
Laddered them all the way up to 80.
There we go. I feel like
I wish I laddered them till, I don't even know if they had that option. 80 was the highest option. I just kept hitting more. Easy money.
Doesn't always work out that way, but when it does work out that way, you want to cash in. That's why having the tools are so. I mean, I won money on the Lions, and I feel like the big loser now.
That's all you got. Yeah, you needed Montgomery.
Yeah,
get more. Like you said, just grab them, put them in there. But it was, I don't know, it was one of those things where I think a lot of these Q tags, yesterday, and we talked about this on the show as well, but I think it is more in-depth. It's not just picks. It's like thinking strategy-wise. There was people saying like, oh, I can't put all these Q tags in my lineup. You almost needed them all. Aaron Jones had his chances too, but the other 2 guys did come through, Watson and Montgomery. So Watson, I don't think was in the main lineup there. It was Dobbs and Reed, but still, in those situations, slates like that, division game where everyone just expects a close battle, if it goes one way or the other, that's where you can get a leg up, and it was definitely the strategy yesterday.
Okay, well, let's see if I can win some money on this. Like, I did not win money last week. I was bad.
What hurt us last week? I try and put it out of my mind quickly.
You did pretty well, but I faded Chargers Vikings
to
go with Lions and whoever the hell that they played in Atlanta, and just ended up kicking a ton of field goals. What are you going to do?
Get to run it back this week if you want, Miami Buffalo.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I was going to fade that game and just play Vegas and Chargers.
I think that's a good plan too. We'll see. That looks appealing, at least as of now, but there's other ways you can get different within these games. And I also think the Jimmy G factor in that game you're talking about still kind of matters.
So I do want to tell everyone, in case they don't know, you talked about the Showdown show that you did on Mayo Media Network Thursday and Monday for the Showdown slates. Ship It Nation, Tambo, Title, and Hoop are going to be on there breaking down these lineups and talking you through the strategy of everything DFS, and even talk some props too. And then on the Sunday morning show, what time does that start? 9:45 a.m. Eastern?
You got it, yep.
Even with the London game going on, you're still going to do it at the same time?
Yeah, I think it's going to all be the same thing.
All right, yeah, and you gave out Donald Parham 2 touchdowns. I watched it.
Hoop did. That's a wild pick.
I was at the gym, and I was like, I had it on YouTube, and I was just streaming. I was like, I might as well check in to see what's going on. And that was the part that I turned into, because someone asked you, was like, oh, is Parham a great piece of this game? And you were like, look, if he scores the 2 touchdowns, you're just better off betting the 2 touchdowns. You'll get paid more on it because he might just end up with like 2 catches for 3 yards and 2 touchdowns. You probably get more from your tight end position somewhere else. Turns out he probably would have been a good play.
He's still fine. I mean, again, when people say, yeah, plug him in for Smythe, which was possible, and he was right there, and you pick up more points, yes, sure, I get that. I was just trying to point out, I love my guy Hoop, and it's funny that people like come at us for it, like, oh, Hoop was right, you were wrong, you said he's not a good DFS play. I was like, buddy, you could cash your 2 touchdown ticket right now. Like, I'm telling you, my bet's already hit. I was just saying I think there's going to be a guy, and sure enough, Laporta ended up going and having a big day. There's just always going to be somebody that hits like the catches, the yards, the bonuses, the touchdowns, that gets more out of it. But Parham subbed for Smythe last week would have been a great play too. So lots of ways to handle it, but that's the kind of stuff that we talk through on those shows, not just the picks, but why this, why that, and then if this, then that.
Well, when I looked at it, I didn't come dead last in every tournament. I came in the bottom 5 percentile, I think, of every tournament that I played, except for one lineup that we built on this show that was awesome. Scored like 222 points or something like that. But I only had it in like the mini $3 or whatever.
I came top 5 in everything that you needed to be winner take all. So that's not the best week either for me, just the way it goes sometimes with these qualifiers. You're chasing them. I had a lineup. There was one King of the Beach. I came second with 222. Behind me was 197, and in front of me was 241. It's like you blow out third, but guess what? It's still, you get like $500 for it. It's a $100 buy-in. So it's like, that's whatever, but you're right there, but you're crushing third, losing by up heaps to first.
Well, Smiz always points out, and I think this is just nice. It's very nice of him to say, because it's like loser cope. It makes you feel better when you lose all your money, but it's somewhat encouraging that you're not just in the middle every single time. Like when you look at the DraftKings screen, you're either you want the big green with your teams all the way to the right, but if they're all the way to the left, it's like, well, if my guys had played well, I feel like I would have done really well.
Yeah, I think your concept strategies, everything you were talking last week was definitely fine for what that slate was. It's just, again, when it goes the other way, I think I don't know how much time we spent on Miami. I can't remember fully.
It
but
wasn't a ton.
It wasn't a ton.
We were
and that
talking
was
about Craycraft.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So we did do that. That's where we went with it. And I know in a 70-point game, it's not ideal when they put up 70 points that
and he gets hurt.
Craycraft and Smythe don't come through at all. But I just think that was a problem. Some of my best lineups last week, like the 180s to 190s, didn't have, like if I'm not going there, this is a leak of mine, and I talked about it on the review show, but like the setup of get Mostert in there then. If you're not saying it's going to be the passing attack, get Mostert in there. If you're not using Jefferson in these other lineups either, why not get Tyreek in there? And it doesn't mean it would shake things out completely differently for me where you're going to have a huge day because of it, but it would have changed things quite a bit. I mean, that was a lot of points left on the table with a guy like Mostert.
It is, and we've seen this a few times. It happens like once or twice a year that the complete team onslaught is the absolute way. I remember there was, I think it was a Rams game or Steelers game. Probably like 3-4 years ago now, and like the optimal lineup was like 7 Rams or something.
Steelers
like
used to always be that way because you could play them all.
You would be like
right?
Bell, Brown, Plexico, and Roethlisberger or something. It's just you played them all, and
the defense as well. They had a good D. Like
yeah.
you could literally just onslaught them and play 4 or 5 guys, no problem.
It may have been Pittsburgh against the Rams, is what I'm thinking. But usually, what that means is the following week, because we don't really get flop leg on guys anymore. People are too sharp for that. It's like, oh, well, that guy was super owned last week and he failed. No one's going to own him this week. Like, trust me, they're going to own him this week.
Yeah,
but you're going to see more lineup constructions like this now in large field tournaments. And we talked about like the onslaught's a great idea in for a King of the Beach qualifier when you're playing 110 or 100 people, whatever it might be, because you don't need to outscore 50,000 people. You need to go outscore 100.
And they've got mini stacks in the game, and you're like, okay, bye-bye. When 5 pieces are there, they're like, shit, this guy has 3 more of those dudes in that game. I'm dead, and that's what happens. You just climb up.
But generally speaking, in the larger field tournaments, when you do the onslaught, I mean, it might work once a year, and you need to have the exact combo for it to go. I mean, you're going to need the exact combo in one of these things anyway. But I think you'll see more onslaught. You'll see a Miami onslaught. You'll see a Buffalo onslaught, a Chargers onslaught. Hell, you might see a Raiders onslaught as well this week. And I don't think that's the way that you really want to play it.
So not particularly in large field, like you said, because someone always has that 1-for-1
1-for-1, yeah.
Now, last week, I don't think people have a Chan in there as their secondary guy or whatever, because we didn't see that a lot. But Mostert made up for it. Everyone was so tilted in the beginning, like, oh, I played Mostert, and he can't get in there. This guy's getting everything. And then Mostert's like, watch this, hold my beer, I'm going to do my own thing too. And he ended up scoring 10 less or something, but still 40 plus on the slate. Secondary point to that, though, Pat, is why I always love Monday Night Football, because whatever happens on Sunday Night Football always becomes, if there's a 5-1 that wins on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football is like, oh, those 5-1s crushed last night, got to get them in there. It's like, could be the complete opposite game, have nothing to do with it. You're right, though, we do see it on a week-to-week basis here, where what happened last week in week 3, that's the first thought that comes to most people's mind headed into week 4 here.
The other big mistake that I made last week, I mean, 2 really critical ones. Too much Craycraft, and I even had the Big Billy Bass fish thing. Take me to the river. It was going to be awesome. And now he's on like IR or something. I don't know if he's going to play this week or not with his shoulder issue. And playing Robert Woods over Tank Dell.
Yeah, Tank Dell, we talked about on the show.
We did, and I went to Robert Woods instead because I thought that would be both a safer play, but I guess in large field GPP, you take the boom guy.
We could talk about him again this week, actually, because Phony Tony's supposed to be back, and that game could be good as well. But
that's not the same game.
No, sorry. We're going to talk about that with the Kenny Pickett plays when I bring him to you later and talk about that stack. But
is it stack against Kenny Pickett? Because that could work.
Maybe
because he sucks.
If you want to play it, I actually like Dell with Kenny Pickett stacks. We can get there. But the other, what was the one last thing you said? Oh, the only thing I was going to say is
no. The other big mistake I made is I was hell bent on playing both Bijan and Pollard in lineups, and they both sucked. What are you going to do?
Yeah, still pretty okay with it, I think, especially if you had like the Bijan Laporta.
I did. Well, I mean, my main lineup was Goff, Amon-Ra, Laporta with Bijan.
Yeah, I just mean I'm good with all those plays. Again, results oriented.
Yeah.
We could say they sucked, but I'm not saying those are bad. I'm saying they were fine plays in the moment as well, beforehand when we don't know what's going to happen on the slate. But also, I like that Waddle actually ended up being out. So remember I was saying during the show, I was like, people are just going to shut this thing off. We're talking about this guy so much, but at least he ended up being a valid talking piece.
Well, I mean, listen, it wasn't just us who played him.
That's right. Yes, that's why it's perfect. It worked out.
Let's get to this week, and let's start with this Miami and Buffalo game. Like I said, the weather is going to be fine, I think, in this game, but it's in Buffalo. It's outside. 53.5 is by far the highest total on the main slate. So obviously no London game, no Sunday night game, no Monday night game. You can probably go use Run the Sims right now and go make some amazing Jacksonville and Atlanta Sunday morning showdown lineups. Get yourself prepped for everything. That'll be fun. But for the main slate, which side of this game do you like and how do you think you can build this out? Because I do think that Waddle over Tyreek is probably the move if you want to get a little bit different here.
Yeah, I like the running backs, actually. That's how I'm getting different in this game.
So Cook, and Mostert.
And even going back to a Chan, I think the people are going to think it's just a flash in the pan.
Is Salvin Ahmed
A Chan
active?
is not a flash in the pan. How about that for a headline?
If Salvin Ahmed is active, not to say that he's any good, but I think that he just started just because Achan had one really boom game, he was behind all of these guys before they all got hurt.
Yeah, I think they were just waiting to unleash him. I only remember because the week before I tried playing him in Showdown, and I was like, he was ready. He was good. They didn't really use him. They were waiting for it. So I'm actually still in on him. It's the tidbits will come out after the show. I didn't put them up by the time you're watching it. They're out.
You're
but
too busy victory lapping a Millie Maker win.
Had to.
You
gotta get excited. Another
ShipNation.com, code Mayo.
Yeah, exactly. 10% off. The other angle, though, like you said, I'm fine with. Like if you want to go to Waddle here, Waddle is still definitely in play. You can use him. 7,600, I think it could scare people away a little bit. Like it's not that much further to go up to Tyreek, even though it is. It's 9,200 versus 76. I'm just saying on this slate, I think you can find it. There's ways to get there, and then people just say, I'm just going to go back. Tyreek continues to do his thing, 2 out of 3 weeks, crushed it. Let's go there.
There's going to be a week when James Cook absolutely destroys a slate. He gets too many opportunities, too many touches, and just it so happens that the Bills do not use him inside the 10-yard line. But he's going to have one of these weeks where he scores 2 touchdowns from like 23 yards out, and all of a sudden he scores 45 DraftKings points. I'm not saying that this is the week, but this is the perfect game slate to do it, because when people stack up the Bills, he's not going to be a part of it. And I do think that he gets left by the wayside, because if anyone's going to play like a one-off running back from this game, it's more than likely going to be Mostert or it's going to be Achane.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all of them. I think that's what's going to happen here. It's just going to be a game that gets stacked up heavily from the passing side because of the total. And I think I'm going to I'm not going away from this game. The total I believe in. I know it's a division game, tight script, everything people will look at. But for me, I think there's lots of good secondary stacks in this game. Kincaid, Knox, if you want to use those guys in the mix with one of the Miami running backs, if you want to use Waddle with one of those guys, I'm actually okay with that because I just plug in a cheap tight end in a high-scoring game. It happens. And then the other one would be what we talked about just a second ago with James Cook. I liked your call there. I was going to say something 18 to 23 yard. That's where it's going to happen. And he's just going to bust through, and there's not going to be anyone to stop him this time. And it's not going to matter that they're outside of the 10. Yeah,
like when we take a look at even defensive DVOA so far this season, shout out to my guy Meanie. Use code Meanie at ftnfantasy.com if you want to get all of the DVOA stuff. Aaron Schatz moved over there. My old pals at FTN. I'm a founding member of FTN. Helped him get off the ground, and then Pat's off doing his own thing. But I still love everyone over at FTN, so use code Meanie over there. Love Meanie the most. And Jeff, too, I suppose. Their rushing rank is bottom 10 in the league so far.
Yeah.
It's hard to run against Miami because they keep scoring so many points that no one's really running on them. But I do think that the Bills have the firepower to go toe-to-toe with them. I mean, that's why this game is so exciting, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at the Bills, and I don't know how this is going to hold up because Miami might be a completely different beast, but the Bills have the second best run defense in football. Right now.
Yeah.
They gave up 7 yards a carry to Brian Robinson, but he only had 10 carries.
Yeah, again, like you said, when you get a slate like this, the total is just too big versus everything else on what's condensed now because of, like you said, the London game. By the way, in that London game, you were just mentioned quickly earlier, but Trevor Lawrence and the boys failed everybody last week. He's going to probably just absolutely smash over there. You can even stack him with ETN, another guy that let people down. They played so bad against Houston.
ETN did not let me down because he got to his rushing prop over, which was
That
was the number one play in the prop sniper last week. Was him over 72 yards because his projection was like 109, or he was the only guy projected for over 100 yards.
Do you want in on Najee this week?
No.
Same matchup.
If you watch the ranking show on Monday, me and Jake went at it about Najee Harris.
Yeah.
I just kept calling him Trent Richardson because he is.
But it's crazy.
Warren's so much better.
There is some data on him that I couldn't believe. I didn't put it in the tidbits. Even I couldn't go down to this level.
Is it that he's like intentionally being bad?
No, it's actually crazy. You wouldn't believe it, but he's like one of the most explosive backs this season.
That's exactly
so far.
what Jake said.
Yeah, because you can pull the data on it and see it. So.
You let data guy run that one. I'll take the guy who runs 2 feet into the offensive line every single time.
The most
and not play that
explosive
guy.
with concrete blocks on his feet. Yes, maybe. That's what it looks like because I don't see it, but the stats say it, so it must be real. But yeah, I think I like the passing game in that game more. But back to this one.
Hold on. You know when people are coming off knee injuries that it's hard for them to run, so they run in a pool? That's Najee Harris.
That's
all
what
the
I
time.
see. Yeah, that's exactly what I see when you do. I've had it before, physiotherapy, where you got to be in a pool and do like your running and your motion of your legs. And that's what it reminds me of. But somehow he rates out in that stat as one of the most explosive. Again, small sample, 3 weeks.
So right now, just to give some insight, runthesims.com, code Mayo or /Mayo, whichever one you want to use. The second best prop in the prop sniper is from the London game. Trevor Lawrence over 3.5 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Projected at 5 right now.
I like that.
So there we go.
I bet you a lot of his props are good this week.
Hopefully.
I'd take a lot of Lawrence overs. I think it's going to be a good week.
DraftKings right now, 3.5 at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's 3.5 minus 105 if you want to go to it. Hammer. There it is. So let's continue to talk about this. I want to try to build a lineup to start off with. I actually like this idea of Cook and Mostert or Cook and Waddle, something like that. Let's start with a mini stack of this game, and then we'll go like full onslaught of the best way to do this. Because I want to use
Waddle.
Well, I want to use the Chargers.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there. I'm saying
but just inside this lineup. Like if I can build Herbert out, because Herbert pops up as the optimal quarterback in like generic sim lineups, that Herbert's the one that gets spat out. So you can go, do we know if Jimmy G's playing?
Not yet, but I think he was.
He's passing in protocol, just like Waddle's passing in protocol. It looks like Phony Tony's passing in protocol. He's practicing in full right now. Everything is in the newsletter, by the way. I'll have another one coming out on Saturday with another updated injury report. But I've been trying to update these as we go along through the week once critical moments come along.
Right, which I love. I use it all the time. I use it for the Ryder Cup stuff too. I always check it out. It's a good read. It has everything in there.
It's free.
That too. That makes it nice.
Substack, Mayo Media, newsletter. Easy.
Love a good read, and it's all broken down in like how I like things, tidbits. It's like here's this, here's that, here's that. I always like it broken up like that. Formatting is everything, people. So I will say this: it sounds like Jimmy G is good, or maybe good. He's like I think he was at practice, but not out of concussion protocol yet. I do think he matters to this game. Like if this is Brian Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell behind him or whatever it ends up being, I don't see it being as good as much as people are going to love a play like Josh Palmer or trying to pick Quentin Johnston in there instead. I guess my point would just be I'm with you right now on the Herbert stuff, but I actually like the Jimmy G side if he plays.
Okay, well, let's go back to Buffalo, Miami. I just want to throw that as a sidebar. Do you want to build with Tua or Allen?
What does the optimal have right now, like we normally start with? I just want to clarify. What does it think is the best this week? And
the optimal lineup this week?
Or yeah, we could do that too also. Yeah, that might be best.
All right, so you can punch this one in
Okay.
because it works hand in hand. Josh Allen is the quarterback.
There you go. That's what I was wondering. Okay.
With Javonte Williams and Kyron Williams. How are we saying this? Because I keep screwing it up.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, yes.
I'm good with that.
He
Yeah.
is
I don't want to try and botch it any further either, so I think
he
that's
is
good.
the most optimal play on the slate by the
that.
numbers. His optimal rate is 32% right now, with Keenan Allen being in second.
And he has 7 and 10 targets the last 2 weeks on top of double-digit rush attempts, so pretty good at 6,000.
Yeah. And okay, so it is those three along with Kelvin Austin, Tyler Boyd, and Justin Jefferson.
Boyd.
I think it's because Boyd's cheap. Kelvin Austin and Boyd are cheap. Adam Troutman is the tight end. Nothing the Sims love more than cheap Broncos.
The Sims also always love 2 tight ends. Maybe not this week, but
Not this week.
Usually they do. I'm just saying. So go ahead. What's the last one?
Keenan Allen's the flex.
Yep.
And Cardinals defense.
Cardinals defense.
Yeah. So you don't have.
And leaves $400 on the table?
I guess so, yeah.
That's fine. I was just curious. Okay, yep.
So that's the lineup.
So, I'd just probably sub Jefferson to
Diggs.
Diggs.
Yeah.
We can start there. I always like when I ask you this, but who do you not like in this lineup?
Troutman.
Troutman, yeah. So we take him out.
How much is Troutman? He must be 25. He's 28. How much is Knox? Knox is 31. You can make him Knox, no problem.
Let's do that.
Even just not even putting Diggs in and keeping Jefferson, you can go Allen Knox instead of Allen Troutman and have some correlation in your
Since
lineup.
we're on this one real quick, I just want to see. So 4, 5, and 2 targets for Knox. The last 2 weeks, he's had 4 targets in the red zone. I know Kincaid is not a typical, he's not Knox. That's what I don't think people understand. Obviously he runs different routes, things like that, but he's had 4, 6, and 2 targets, only 2 in the red zone. So if you are just looking to pick up some touchdowns, the Parham style type play here, Knox can do other stuff. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that is how you would pick it up in this lineup. And then can we get to Waddle, or do you want to do like Waddle over Keenan Allen and get Boyd out, or what do you want to do?
Well,
here?
I'm going to throw in Boyd for a second.
Okay.
And the defense was the cheapest one. Yeah, the $2,200
Arizona,
which is not great. But if you played Houston last week, you printed.
You can always get
some
there.
fullback return kickoff for
I will say that was another mistake. I always like to just see some of these things when I do my review and analysis after. But I played a lot of Washington just because it just made stuff work. And when it was only $500 more to get Buffalo, I know it's results oriented, but they definitely popped more for me too. I just knew they'd be popular, and I was like, who cares? But for $500, it ended up being a big mistake. Just get them. It wasn't like they were $4,400 like Dallas.
So this leaves $1,600 on the table. So 2 things that you can do here. So I've subbed out Jefferson for Diggs, and I've subbed in Knox for Troutman. So I still have Boyd and Calvin Austin in this lineup. Calvin Austin is $3,300. Boyd is $4,100. And I don't love Javonte Williams either, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think he's fine.
So let's do this, though. I'm not trying to move it too quickly, but just take Javonte and Keenan out for a second. And can we get
Let me ask you, Kate, before we get to that,
Waddle?
I don't think you should take Keenan Allen out.
I don't either, but if you want your run back to be someone from Miami here, who do you want to go with?
Mostert.
Okay.
So Mostert, chuck him in. Now we still have, chuck in Mostert for Javonte. Now we have $600 left. We can upgrade Boyd we can upgrade Boyd as like a flex play potentially, or just upgrade Calvin Austin to anyone else at receiver who's at the low end. Now these low end receivers, Tank Dell has been coming through for certain people. It all really depends on if you pick the right one or not. Like last week, I picked the wrong one, and that was not good. But
so we have 47 or 3,900.
So is there anyone in that upper 4s or upper 3s that you like at receiver? Because there's not. Is there a cheap running back that could be potentially there? Because points per dollar wise, Thielen at $4,500. Although now we probably have Bryce Young back in that game.
Oh, you know who you could play here?
Hit me.
Khalil Herbert. He's in the spot. He's in the same spot as Denver last week, or as Miami last week. Mostert and Achane just went off against them, and now you get Chicago versus Denver, and people actually have interest in Fields this week because of that as well. You can play Khalil Herbert in this lineup. I'm playing it. Get Boyd out of there for a second. Go to Herbert. That's not a bad lineup, Pat.
It has Herbert in it.
Yeah, it projects the exact same as that optimal you gave me.
I think you need better projections, pal.
Herbert's the one killing it, actually.
He should be. He's terrible.
I think that could be something this week. We'll see. There's some good stats on him. He is in the tidbits today, actually. So the thing is if you think they can keep this game anywhere close, maybe you don't, but it is just Denver.
Listen, it's not that I don't think that they can't keep it close, but this maybe I'm wrong, and if that's the case, maybe just put all your money on the over. But this game this feels like 17-14.
Almost a 47-point total.
I understand that. I prefer the under in this game. Just why is it Khalil Herbert and not Roshan Johnson then? Or why isn't it Fields doing it himself?
Well, again, I don't care what it is or who it is. And when I play DFS, what I care about is what's the field
I understand
doing.
that, but
the field is playing is not like he's going to be heavily owned, but the field thinks it's Fields or it's somebody else. Why it's not Roshan Johnson, what you just mentioned, is because, and this is in the tidbits today, is because anytime they've played a close game,
it's Herbert.
So far, it's Herbert. So if you think the game's going to be close with Chicago at home, he has like double the attempts, double the snaps, everything. It's him. So that would be the only reason to say why you could plug him in. But we don't need to plug him in either. We still could get rid of Austin. Right now,
Do you like Austin?
I do.
Okay,
I
so
definitely
we'll
do.
keep Austin in. That means we can either mess around with Boyd, who's $4,100, or Cardinals D, who's 22.
To note on Austin, 6-4 and 6 targets. I'm not expecting exactly last week's game with 15, but he's had almost 10, 15, 7, something like that from DK scoring, and he's only 3,300. You don't need as much or a lot, but at that price point with Deontay Johnson out, it's still a good spot.
If we just keep Boyd in or try to find someone else at $4,100, we can get up to Browns D against Baltimore, which I think is substantially better than Cardinals D against San Francisco.
Well, just another note, too. I'm going to look at this one, too. This actually projects better than the optimal. You can play Tank Dell instead of...
Kelvin. Instead of Boyd?
No. Yeah, you're playing him instead of Boyd, and you end up having the Austin Dell mini stack with Allen, Diggs, Knox, run it back with Mostert, with Kyron Williams and Keenan Allen.
And then you get...
And then we're on the Arizona D or
And then you get Calvin
$2,300.
Austin, Tank Dell playing opposite each
Opposite
other.
sides for too cheap.
But then we're on Raiders D. Which is
I'm
not-
on Arizona D.
Okay, we'll keep an Arizona D. I wish we could find a better D to plug in here.
You can play. You can just leave them, but you can also make changes here. What's the other guy that I was just thinking of?
Well, if it's not Tank Dell, how much is Robert Woods? Oh, Robert Woods only $4,300, and if you put in Robert Woods instead of Tank Dell, you can get up to Panthers D, who's playing the turnover-prone Vikings.
It would be a bounce back spot. I don't even know what he ended up doing last week besides.
Nothing. I mean, they got it. Tank Dell did all the scoring, and then no one else did anything besides Pierce.
So we get 2,600 like this, like you said, right? So that's Carolina D. You want?
You can go Carolina's D, or I don't really want to play Dolphins D. Although, what do you make of Dolphins D and Bills D in this game with such a high total?
Again, don't know what's going to actually happen. Don't care as much as what you're saying is a good point, though. The reason I think you make a good point bringing it up, I should say, is that that's another thing I saw last week that people tried to do. It just doesn't always work. But how would this game not be the game needed on the slate is like a Mostert with Miami D or a James Cook with a Buffalo D, and then you're just not playing the other spot. So that's more how I would think about using them, is how does this shut down the total versus be useful as like break the slate type D. So probably Buffalo. Buffalo and Cook would be nice.
So as a 2v2, you can take Tank Dell out for his teammate Robert Woods and then upgrade Arizona D to Panthers D. Not that Panthers D is good. They had a bunch of injuries last week, and they're not good. But
You like it better than the other spot.
I like
too.
it better than the other spot, and I like it. How owned is the Browns D gonna be this week? Like, they have to be the chalk defense at $2,600. It gotta be.
The Browns 2,800 versus Baltimore.
Yeah, 2,800. Yeah, like they're the best of the cheap Ds.
Yeah. I don't even see much ownership anywhere really this week, but
Points per dollar.
It's pretty spread out.
Points per dollar. Colts then Panthers are the two best.
and if people pay up, probably Philly.
Philly is actually fourth in points per dollar, and they're
And
$4,100.
just tough to pay up. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I like that. I mean, let's try to find another receiver. If it doesn't need to be Robert Woods, although that is correlated to one of our other plays in the lineup, which is really nice, but that's not the end all be all.
Do you have any indie guys you like?
Josh Downs?
If you wanted to go with the Kyron stack, you could do that.
Okay, I you know what? Let's take out Robert Woods and let's play Josh Downs at $3,500.
Then you have 3,400
Yeah.
for defense.
Or you can upgrade anywhere else you want. Like, you could take out Calvin Austin if you wanted to. So take out Josh Downs, and now we need to find a place to upgrade. I mean, you could always take out Diggs and play Gabe Davis if you wanted to, if you like really wanted to upgrade another spot. If there was one guy that really stuck out to you that you wanted to jam into this lineup, I think that, listen, it's higher probability that Diggs has a great week rather than Gabe Davis having a great week. But we just saw Gabe Davis have a great week over Diggs, so it's not impossible.
No, that's right. And he's still 5,900. And then you could do something
So
like...
if you let's take Diggs out and go with Gabe Davis. And then we can take
still
Calvin
end up-
Austin out. We have $6,400 for a flex if we want to.
I was trying to go to...
And then I can upgrade to Browns D right away. I love Browns D this week. So Browns D or Chargers D. Chargers D at 3,100 is nice if you're not going to use any other Chargers. Whether it's concussed Jimmy G or Brian Hoyer or Aiden Quinn from the cutting edge, I think we're going to be good to go.
do we have anyone at 6,100? No.
That's what I was looking, $6,100. Amari.
Yeah, he's probably fine.
Oh, you know what? There it is.
What is it?
Kamara.
Oh, gosh.
No one's playing Kamara.
So I think I have what you have, but just read me the lineup quick.
I mean, it's the same lineup. If you have $6,100 left, we have the same lineup in.
Okay.
So you can go anywhere between A-Chain is $5,700. Wow. So Cooper, Kamara, Zach Moss. I mean, why not Zach Moss? You might get 28 touches again.
Yeah, it's possible. I want to see what taking Mostert out does.
Who do you drop Mostert to?
Uchan,
I don't like that.
5,700. He's going to do it again when everyone thinks he can't. It's guaranteed going to happen.
That's
my
a
call.
completely fair point, and I just
It's just a flash in the pan. No, dude is fast. He's just as faster than Tyreek. The offense moves that way, and he's still crushed. He can do half of his output of last week and smash a $5,700 point tag.
maybe
$5,700 tag on those points.
like
is what I'm
for
saying.
example, for either a cheaper price or the same price, I'd rather play DeAndre Swift.
I wouldn't.
I would.
I don't like him as much.
Same price.
Yeah, I know. I don't like I don't like more so chasing DeAndre Swift with.
I don't either,
that
but I
setup.
mean, even with Gainwell back, he was very clearly their guy.
Yeah, the problem is that's again, you're playing a similar spot. I get it because there's multiple guys there. I actually don't really care for either of these plays. I'm just saying in this build where we're coming back from the other side, I would have no problem in these stacks playing him instead of Mostert here and just following it up with another round out.
So to look at who like the simulations like as the best play here, could we just get up to James Cook? I guess we don't need James Cook in this lineup, but points per dollar wise, it's Kieran Williams, then James Cook, and then Zach Moss and Ramondre Stevenson. Miles Sanders actually rates out better than everyone else in this range at $5,800.
Miles Sanders might be good. Yeah, how much is he?
58. So he's $100 more than A-Chain.
Yeah. A-Chan just lets you get like almost back to Diggs. That's what I'm seeing. Like you can get
But it's almost back to Diggs. It's not two
would you
Diggs.
play Kareem Hunt over Khalil Herbert?
No. He might not even play this week. He's hurt.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they went out and signed Deion Jackson because already, Jerome, how much is Jerome Ford? Ford's 5,400. Like that's not terrible. That's not a terrible price tag on him. Like who do you want to get back up to? Like are you saying take Gabe Davis out? And
I was just trying to get back to Diggs.
For Diggs?
And I
All right,
could
let's
get
get-
back to that $4,700 price range. I could play like Downs, Diggs, Allen, Knox, Williams, Allen, Cleveland D, and you still have that $4,700 price tag.
Or you
Mike.
just plug in Tank Dell and just roll Tank Dell. One-off Tank Dell. I think that's fine. Or you can play, you probably don't want to play Adam Thielen with Miles Sanders in there, but Tank Dell fits as the $4,600 flex if you play Steph Diggs. Then you go Allen, Diggs, Knox. You have no Dolphins coming back. And then you have Williams and Sanders as your running back, Keenan Allen, Josh Downs.
Yeah, the thing is, I think if this game goes, it's going to go. And why I say that is because not like Miami won their Super Bowl last week or something. Like this would be more considered like that. And again, Miami can put up points. They have a good team.
Oh, no, I agree with you.
I don't think it's going to be like a letdown spot where Buffalo just pounds them. Could happen. But, the total's up there. The spread is pretty thin there. It's close 3 right now. So I think
if you want to get back in, Calvin Austin makes this all work again. Now you're playing two receivers that are sub $3,500.
okay, what's your take? Let's do this right now then because we didn't spend enough time on this and it's in the same lineup. It will carry over because we're going to go to LAC after. What is your Palmer, Johnston? Like, where are you at with this? Besides Allen and Eckler may be back. Right?
Allen, Eckler, Herbert. Let everyone else play the jabronis with Adam.
But if you're playing a cheap one, because people are playing a cheap one, who would you
Palmer.
pick? Palmer?
Yeah.
I just want to
Although I think Johnson actually makes more sense because as we saw last year, Palmer's kind of the Keenan Allen fill-in, whereas Johnson's, I assume, the Mike Williams fill-in. Like there was very distinct rules last year. Remember DeAndre Carter was getting used a ton?
Yep.
Or it could be Gerald Everett. Like that could be the cheap piece that you need in this game.
Oh, he's so frustrating.
I know, but everyone will use Parham, would probably for good reason since he's 8 feet tall and they throw it up to him in the end zone.
Yeah.
But if Everett can just find a few, like he ended up with 6 targets last week. If he ends up with like 7 or 8 in this game, I don't even know if I want to overstack that game. It just might be Herbert and Allen and move on my way and have Devontae coming back. Or hell, Jacoby Myers. If Jimmy G is playing, Jacoby Myers averaging like 10 targets a game.
Was there anyone at 44? You liked...
Tank Dell at 46 was my best option there. At 44?
Or who was another running back besides Williams that you liked outside of Miles Sanders?
Mostert.
I
don't mind DeAndre Swift. I actually think, do we know, I mean, you're the Ravens guy. Do we have an update on Justice Hill?
No, but I also don't ever play running backs. That's what I'll tell you, being the Ravens guy.
Okay.
I mean, Gus Edwards, you can get away with it sometimes, but man, you need a lot to go your way, and that's why I struggle so hard with Swift, even though he was getting extras.
I mean,
last week they just have too much going on there.
I don't see why it's not Zach Moss.
I like the Zach Moss call, actually.
You can use Zach Moss, or you can just play Kamara and hope that he's good, like he used to be.
So far, I don't like that one either. I'd like to see what they do, but they are, man, that is a good spot too. I'm trying to see what 4,200. Do you have a flex play?
42.
Then you might like this.
How much is Robert Woods?
We're 100 off your boy.
So $4,200.
I guess if you go back to Boyd, because he was in the original, I'll just read you what it was.
Yeah.
It's close to it. It's Allen, Diggs, Knox, run it back with Waddle. You get Williams versus Moss, 2 running backs there, and then it's Joshua Palmer, Tyler Boyd, and the Cleveland defense.
So
Project's almost the same, but it's Allen goes to Waddle, essentially, and our cheap guy went to Palmer. You kind of have the two, like, Boyd seems like he could be a pivot off him there based on what the optimal originally liked. Like if you went to a guy like Boyd at 4,100 as opposed to Palmer, that I was just trying to see what a Palmer lineup would do for us.
Yeah, I just struggle taking. I mean, listen, maybe he's the biggest bust in the history of anything this week, but no one seems like a bigger lock than Keenan Allen to have like 30 DraftKings points.
Yeah, and he's also, I think people are, obviously talking about Eckler coming back. And, he's not going to get 20 targets this week. Well, no, probably no shit, probably not. But he doesn't need 20 targets to perform. They've been using him even before the Mike Williams stuff. They've used it once he went out. Like even if Eckler comes back, I think it's going to be more than fine for at least something.
Did we? I didn't even look at the ownership last week. Did I turn out to be right that everyone ended up just not using Keenan Allen? Not using Keenan Allen, but far more people used Mike Williams.
Yes. Remember, I actually gave you the compliment to that on the show. I said we talked about it. And the thing, Pat had made that comment. I said, I realized by the end of the week, again, just seeing more rosters constructed, using optimizers, playing with them, 6K Williams was obviously just easier to get to for everybody. And that was a good call there. So definitely made sense from that perspective.
All right, here's what I like better. Got to get rid of Diggs, unfortunately.
Who just used him?
And I need to save $1,000 somewhere. Where can I save $1,000? At running back. Down from 6,000. Is there any 5,000? I mean, I suppose I could get off Brown's D, so I could save anywhere between 700 and 1,000 at running back. I need to save off of 6,000. Who's in that low fives? That's not bad. Gus Edwards, yikes. Damian Pierce,
Khalil Herbert, 47. Roshan, right there, 4,900. Your boy.
Is there anyone else down here? We think that Derrick Henry is going to play, right?
I think so. The turf toe thing and the practice, I think he's fine, but you just have to wait and see. But so far, I think we're going to be good. Everyone's just still worried about Spears.
Okay. Let's see if I can get down to DST. Panthers D. What do I have now? Take out Zach Moss, 5,300.
Do you have Diggs still in?
No.
You have Davis?
I have Davis in, yeah.
Okay.
So 53. I guess Javonte is like the best option here, but then I get off Downs. So Downs back to Austin. It's funny that I'm kind of like reconstructing the optimal again, just to try to squeeze all this in. Then I get back to Javonte at 5,500 it's him or Najee Harris, and I'd rather play Javonte Williams.
So with Javonte, what's the lineup at now?
Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen isn't it? Josh Allen with Davis and Knox and Jalen Waddle.
Okay.
Kyron Williams and Javonte Williams. Keenan Allen. Mm-hmm. Calvin Austin and Panthers D.
Panthers D actually pops okay. I'm missing two plays that I misheard you on. The running backs for Williams and Javonte. I got to plug in.
Kyron and Javonte.
And then that leaves me $7,900, which I assume is Allen.
Is Keenan Allen? How's that looking?
It's only 2 points shy from our original. So it's Allen, Davis, Knox, run it back with Waddle. You got two Williams, Javonte and Kieran Williams, Calvin Austin the third with Keenan Allen and Carolina defense. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Okay. But much lower owned, too, by the way. Like, this is the kind of thing people have to see and understand if they don't follow this. But, like, when we pull that optimal and it's not even built like a tournament lineup, it's just the optimal plays.
Yeah, just
all
here are
slammed
the best
into a lineup,
projections. Yeah,
projects for this number. We get something within a couple points. comes in way lower owned and now has much more correlation and everything built into it that you can use this to apply to your rosters. Now, if you're not on this game and we're going to talk about other games here, that's fine. But this is just a way to show you with the original optimal lineup how you can construct it to make it better for your tournament play.
And once again, you're going to be live with the Ship It Nation crew on Mayo Media Network. Completely free show. It's live. It's interactive. If people have questions about the lineup builds or plays, whatever it might be, they can ask you in the chat. Got to be subbed to ask a question. That's part of the deal. Can't ask any questions if you're not subbed to Mayo Media Network. That's going to be at 9:45 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday while you're trying to go through your lineup. So I highly recommend that you check that out. Play in the DraftKings Listeners League, by the way. We got the golf one filled. It filled. I woke up. I was like, oh man, there's going to be like an overlay of 200 spots. Woke up, filled. I was like, oh,
we're jamming it everywhere. But it's funny. I think it's one of any of those game theory weeks. Even though we love them and say like, this is awesome, there's an edge, we can do stuff. You usually can't correlate in golf very easily besides some, our boy Raza with his, skill stacks, or we're doing wave stacks, things like that. But in general, it's a great event. But for some reason, and I know football's on too, but people just don't like them. They shy away more than hop in just because they're worried about it.
Well, there's also the added part of it too. I just built a better lineup, by the way, with all of that same stuff.
Tell me it in a second. Go ahead.
Because I was talking to Wiley about it too. I was like, why does no one care about golf this week? It's like, well, the Euros are getting bet up to be like favorites at this point. Mm-hmm. So and we're talking about a North American audience really only, playing on DraftKings mainly. I'm sure in Europe it's absolutely, like, people are fired up for the Ryder Cup. The time change is not helping, like having to wake up at 1:30 in the morning to watch golf. And like, even when I woke up at like 6 a.m. our time. I missed all of the first matches.
Well, we had this show in the morning. I wasn't staying up last night. I stayed up, made sure my Showdown one closed, and then I was like, I'm going to bed. I want to stay up and watch it all, but we got this show in the morning. So
yeah. It's just tough. So there's a lack of interest there. It seems to be like the early rounds are they on Golf Channel or Peacock? Like it's like one of the two. So it's not easily accessible. And just if the U.S. aren't like giant favorites, Americans just don't seem to care.
Look,
and
you and I love the Ryder Cup. Most people watching this do probably. I get it. It's one of the best sporting events going. I love it. I'm saying, I don't know if it's all that as much as just it's the obvious. When football's around, it is what it is. The Ryder Cup's a special thing, but from a DFS perspective, that definitely kills it at that angle. Secondly, we're about to get to it starting next week, Pat. The Sanderson Farms and the Shriners and all these tournaments coming up. The PGA just needs to take a break, or just everyone needs to realize that's just what it's going to be.
No one cares. Yeah, like
no one cares.
I thought 2000 would be easy to fill for a Ryder Cup, and I was wrong.
Got there, though.
Got there.
That's all that matters.
Got there.
What's the better lineup in the end?
Thank you to all the people out there. So there's two ways we can play this one. So the new lineup is Waddle is out, Mostert is in the place of Javonte Williams. Okay. So Allen, Kieran Williams, Raheem Mostert. Colonel Mostert.
Yep.
Keenan Allen, Gabe Davis, Calvin Austin III with Dawson Knox. Browns defense. And then you have $6,300 for a flex. So that could be Ramondre Stevenson. It could be a banged-up Brandon Ayuk. It could be Alvin Kamara. It could be Zach Moss. It could be Miles Sanders. You have a lot of those options. I think I like that a little bit more.
I think I like Stevenson there at 6,200.
That's who I currently have in.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good spot, too, up against Dallas. Can run on them.
Yeah, people seem to think that Dallas is like shut-down run defense, but they ain't.
They also did not look very good without Diggs. And I know they've got other guys on their D, but I'm just saying like that was part of it. And, everyone expected them to still be good. I did too. I liked the Pollard Dallas stacks last week, and it did not work out.
Did not work out all that well. It's almost the same as San Francisco. Like San Francisco's 21st against the run, and Dallas is 20th against the run. It's just in two of the games that almost in every game that San Francisco has played, they've just been up by so much they don't face any rushing attacks. So that could be impacting it. That they're like, yeah, go ahead and run for 6 yards a carry when you're down 30. Who cares? But Kieran Williams had a huge week against them. So Connor could fit into some of those builds. And then you look at Dallas. I do worry. Take data out of it. Take a simulation out of it that if they get to the 1 yard line, they're going to give fucking Zeke the ball.
Revenge game.
I listen. Revenge games are fun to talk about because they're a great narrative. But I do believe that there is something to running back, because you can get a running back a touchdown, or at least giving him an opportunity to get a touchdown against his old team. And I think that the Patriots will do that with Zeke if they have the chance.
We can clip this one up next week, Pat. Bet Zeke 2 touchdowns and walk away. I don't care.
I'm not saying play Zeke, but I think
I know you're not.
That hurts
I'm just telling everybody my side. I was too. Is like that's what I'm saying. That's what you do in these spots. If you truly think it, you're not revolutionizing your DraftKings lineup in many cases. Who knows what else can happen? I've been wrong plenty of times, but how I would play it is that if you think Zeke's gonna wreck everything this week and do it all, then just go bet him for 2 touchdowns. That's how it happens.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, I worry more that Zeke just hurts Ramondre.
It's possible. Definitely. And Ramondre's 62, but Ramondre's still been getting the action.
He has been. But I mean, why isn't
The
Kamara,
only scary spot, though, is because it's the revenge factor. It's the only reason people shy away, I think.
why isn't Kamara the play here? Just because he's isn't an unknown a great, like this could be 25 touches. When we saw him in the preseason,
Yeah.
when he was allowed to play, and he played with the first team. Now, it is Jameis at quarterback, not Derek Carr, so it's a little bit different, obviously. But it was him and Jamal Williams. And I think Kamara played like 90% of the snaps and got all the touches, even the goal line touches.
My answer was going to be, when you asked why isn't he the play, is because Chris Olave is, because Winston just bombs it. And it's just going to be whatever happens. And also the Tampa Bay D. Get your Olave, Tampa Bay D secondary stacks, and you don't even need to worry about the Winston factor. It's just going to be catches for Olave, and then if he gets in the box or something, I don't think it makes Winston a huge play, but we'll see. I wanted to ask you quickly, though, because we don't always get to every game. I know we're about to go to the Vegas Chargers game. You want to build the Herbert stacks, but do you have any interest in Purdy at all and some of the stuff going on there? Because there's potential, like Debo is questionable still.
Debo's questionable. Ayuk's questionable. I mean, that would kind of...
Jawan Jennings, I think, is questionable, too.
Nah, I'm not too
Not that he...
concerned
No,
about
but I'm saying it just tightens up that target tree even further.
It could be, but I think they're all going to play. Like they don't seem to be at risk of not playing.
Okay.
So then you're in an absolute, like the only healthy ones are, unless you want to do like, and McCaffrey's been scoring a rushing touchdown in every game, so that limits the overall like correlation
He's just
upside.
going off every game.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I mean,
for like floor plus ceiling kind
Yeah,
of. But yeah, it's like-
absolutely. But if you're going to play Purdy, you'd want McCaffrey's touchdowns to be receiving touchdowns, and then you play Kittle with them.
Yeah, I got there with you. We're good. That's what I was going to say. Skinny stack this week. Just Purdy, Kittle. You could do Connor. You could do double tight end with Ertz. I just don't think you need to. You could just play Purdy and Kittle. They're going to put up 30 points. They do every week.
Chargers. Oh, wait, I like this a little bit more. Who do you like better, Josh Downs or Calvin Austin? Because I can play both of them in this lineup if I want to.
They're both in our top stack rankings right now, too, on the site. So I like them both. I do. But I guess for me, I would go more on the side of I really do like Williams at running back. So I like that little secondary with Downs Williams.
Get a touch of the Downs in there, and we'll be good to go.
Yep.
All right, so here's the lineup.
Where are we starting with?
Josh Allen.
Oh, we're still on Josh Allen. Okay.
No, we're still just amending this lineup. and,
We've been amending this one.
making tweaks. Well, this is like we started with the optimal. Now we're working off of it, trying to get.
Okay, I'm good. Well, we got Williams in there, right?
Yeah, so we go Allen, Williams, Mostert,
Okay.
Keenan Allen, Gabe Davis, Josh Downs.
I can get those guys because I know who it is. Davis, Diggs, Downs.
Dawson,
Triple D.
Triple D. Get that big D in there. Miles Sanders as the flex, and Chargers defense.
Who was the tight end?
Knox.
Oh, we're going all in.
Yeah,
This is the small field. Pat just told everyone we don't play these crazy stacks.
well,
in
no,
large fields, but-
it's Josh Allen with 2 pass catchers.
and 3 actually.
No, 2.
I have Davis, Diggs, and Knox.
Oh, there's no Diggs.
Oh,
It's-
what's
it's
Diggs?
Keenan Allen.
Oh, okay. Well, I found the small field version of it.
No, it's Keenan Allen and Chargers D, but I think that's still fine. Like if those are the Chargers that I'm going with.
All right, let's go to that. Chargers D. The Chargers D are probably fine.
I think
Especially if it
the
ends up-
Chargers D is just going to unleash like the Raiders can't block.
It just depends on who it is. If it's Jimmy G, I think we get a good game here. If it's not, then I don't know.
Yeah, well, if it's not, then you
Then-
get,
well, then
then you
that's
get
fine.
Brian Hoyer dropping back 40 times. That's great.
If it's Hoyer, I do have more interest in the Chargers. You and I talk about this all the time, just a little thing.
Even if it's Jimmy, not afraid to throw a pick or two.
No, it's fine. It's still fine. I'm not against it. I just think that's the way I would look at it. Is I think this game's going to be a better game if we get him. So right now it looks like we could get him. The line, the total, everything's still there.
It's funny because I still like Browns D more than the Chargers D. Like if you play Browns D at 28, the problem is we're back in that range where we didn't love anyone. It's up to like $6,100. Like you could play Zach Moss. I guess that's the way that you could do it. You could play Zach Moss as your flex to get that correlation with Williams.
I keep deleting this lineup, thinking we're moving on.
And then you reinsert Calvin Austin or anyone up to $3,600. Is there anyone at 36 who's any good at receiver?
Allen.
See, what I'm doing here is trying to make my like money lineup this week for in like the 150 and the 300.
Yeah, you're trying to make 150 Josh Allen lineups right now is what you're trying to do.
I've only entered one of them.
I know. You're saving them all, though, somewhere. Let's see.
You'd be surprised how not I am saving any of these.
Okay.
There are two decent plays here.
Who was the cheap guy we had? It was Downs, right?
It was Calvin Austin in this one because Zach Moss is the flex.
Yeah, I'm just going back to the original, though. It was Mostert, Williams, and who was the other flex piece? It was Sanders, right?
Yeah. And I took out Sanders and I put in Moss. And I dropped Chargers D down to Browns D.
So we go Moss, and then you upgrade Downs to Calvin Austin.
Downgrade, really. He's cheaper.
Oh, yes, he's 33.
I mean, you could still play Downs. He plays Moss and Downs. I don't think that would probably be the best way to go about things.
So this is whatever, but also I was just going to say this is where you can turn. I don't know. You don't like getting rid of Keenan, though. You just want to play Keenan no matter what.
That's right.
I was going to say Davis and Diggs typically have big games together. And then surprisingly.
Okay, so let's get rid of Keenan.
And then it leaves 3,200, which is
one sec. Let me save this lineup.
Yeah, you think
before I do anything. I like that lineup.
It's probably Ertz.
I get the squirts in there.
You can,
because the other one is instead of you still have $300 left over for a receiver with Calvin Austin in that lineup. There's actually some decent being relative in that price range. Curtis Samuel keeps getting looks. If you want to play the cheapest piece of the Buffalo game, you could play Shakir in that spot. I wouldn't recommend that, but Michael Wilson's actually pretty good. And he's $3,500, and they're 14-point underdogs in that game. So that could be a ton of throwing.
So, just 1 second, then you got a good lineup there. Then I think, how much was he?
Who?
Wilson, 3,500.
35,
right?
yeah, same price as Downs.
So let's go Allen back in there. Yeah. So you can do the lineup you wanted almost. You could do Knox or Kincaid, but now you've got Allen, Davis, Knox, Mostert from that game. You still get Keenan Allen. You got Moss, Kieran Williams, your Cleveland D, and then you get Michael Wilson in there instead of Calvin Austin or Downs.
Or you can just make that swap, like you said, have that exact same lineup that I had the first time, turn Allen into Diggs, and you can you can do an onslaught with Dawson Knox or take out Dawson Knox and have a $3,200, Kincaid, Schultz, Ertz. I like Ertz.
I didn't hate it because my previous version had Ertz. So now it's like if I'm not playing Ertz, you go to Wilson. As long as you have one of these Arizona guys show up, you'd be all right. And they should be down passing. It's a 14-point spread right now. San Francisco at home.
Okay, do you want to move to a different game or do you want to play the Tua side of this?
I want to go to the other game that you like.
All right, let's go to Vegas. And
I want to see what your Herbert build looks like.
I'm curious. I actually haven't built it out yet.
I think you said with Eckler and Allen is what you're hoping for.
That's what I'm hoping for.
And
then obviously,
Myers?
What's that?
You want Jacoby Myers on the other side?
Yeah, because I would like Devontae Adams. I think Myers is one of the best plays on this slate. Like if you know what the move might be, because off the hop we talked about if you were just going to mini stack. Mm-hmm. If you go mini stack, what's the cheapest stack? Let's try this. Mini stack with
couldn't get it.
Myers and Keenan Allen, and then Cook and Mostert at running back. Now we have both those games covered. What's the stupidest cheap stack we can find?
This week?
For the other games. So we have 2 running backs filled. We have 2 wide receivers filled. Can we find a cheap stack with $4,700? I'm going to throw Browns D in there because I like Browns D.
It's like Pickett, Calvin Austin, Freiermuth or something.
Let's try that. Pickett. We still might have a ton of money left over. And Firemouth. No, it's not literally spelled Firemouth. We have $9,200 for a flex. Tyreek, we could play McCaffrey if we wanted to.
So who's in this right now?
It's Cook and Mostert is the running backs.
Mostert and our guy James Cook.
Jacoby Myers and Keenan Allen as receivers.
Which I like that little mini stack. And also Allen can just get there without Herbert needing to be there. It's just he can just rack them up.
Yeah, it'd be 17 catches. Then you go
Cleveland D
with Pickett, Austin, and Freiermuth.
Yeah, and it's McCaffrey.
And McCaffrey is your flex.
Yeah. That's incredible. Projects better than the original lineup.
Is that true?
Yeah.
There we go. I do like those, like you're still getting your pieces of the main games, and if they don't go completely off, that was the problem last week, is that not only did the Chargers game, and I thought that it's funny, like this happened 2 weeks in a row, because the phony Tony week, when he was just dominating, and I had all these Richardson lineups, and then he goes out of the game.
Yep.
Last week, I had Goff and Laporta. They hook up early. I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. And the first touchdown for Minnesota was to some guy literally no one had. It was like Parham and Oliver with the first 2 touchdowns. Like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, the 2 backup tight
Yeah,
ends.
it's like no one has these guys. This is perfect. My stack. This game might get there in points, and I still might be on the better side of this. And then, Keenan Allen throws Mike Williams a touchdown.
Yeah, Mike Williams went off and is out for the season now, but he still had
Yeah.
a huge game compared to most receivers this season. So, yeah, that happens, but it was like you said, those 2 backup tight ends early. I want to play Hawkinson, be different. All right, Oliver time. I want to play Everett, be different in this game. Nope, it's Parham time, just nonstop. You get that in those big total games, but I like this build quite a bit. And this is one where
I have an adjustment to it as well, if you wanted to go that route. Do you
Yeah,
like Tyreek against Buffalo? He's struggled against Buffalo. I don't know.
I think he's fine. The reason I said the version that I liked was I actually really like it, was the one with Christian McCaffrey, was because you're getting a piece of a team with, look what he's been doing. It's just like you're getting, so say we already have Mostert, so you get the 2 backs in the game with the heavy total. You get the stack that it already loved Austin, so let's just plug in the cheap pieces with it. You get the mini stack in the other game. We like Allen and Myers, who can just rack up PPR points. You get McCaffrey with that total, and you get our favorite defense.
Yeah. I mean, if you really wanted to, if you just wanted to play skinny and you didn't want to overload with the Steelers, having 2 pass catchers with Kenny Pickett, you could take Freiermuth out for Ertz and get the Ertz McCaffrey back and forth.
Yeah, how much is Ertz?
32, so you save $200. It doesn't really do you could take McCaffrey out and get up to Jefferson, but then that defeats the purpose of getting to Ertz.
Yeah, I don't hate it anyway. Like you said, I like that little secondary stack.
So the other thing you can do here is take out Mostert and put in Tyreek as your flex. And then you have 6,500 at running back, and you could play Kieran Williams if you wanted to. You can play Mixon, you can play Stevenson. I think the Kieran Williams is the best of those plays if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, we didn't have Williams in this. Let's get Williams in this.
He doesn't really fit because we were playing the Mostert and Cook correlation here. But now we have
now
Tyreek.
We're playing Tyreek.
Yeah, we have Tyreek with James Cook from that game, Allen and Myers still, Pickett, Austin, Freiermuth, but Kyron Williams, and you leave $500 on the table. You could get up to
What's it get us
Buccaneers D.
$3,300 defense?
I still like the Browns better than all of these defenses.
I just want to see one more thing. Take out Freiermuth, Austin, and Pickett. You think Richardson plays?
Yeah, I do.
6,700
Can we get Phony Tony in there?
with Downs.
With Downs? Yes. I am all about this.
Go back to.
But who do we have to take out? This isn't going to work.
It's going to be close.
Kelvin Austin. Kelvin
so
Austin, take him out
close.
for Downs. We need to save $1,300 somewhere. We just don't have the money to do
At
it.
LA, we already got It's a way to use Williams too. Like Richardson, Downs, Williams, cut it off. James Cook. Let's go back to Mostert for a second. Does this get us?
Oh yeah, it does. If you turn Hill into Mostert, it works perfectly.
But what type of situation are we at here? Because now I still want to get back to the good defense that we had, Cleveland.
I still have Cleveland in.
So who's a $4,800
Tight end, Hunter Henry. Taysom Hill.
Who else could we upgrade in this lineup?
I mean, eventually Goddard's gonna have a game, right?
Wait, I got it. Yeah, it's possible actually. Waddle, who's $3,700 tight end?
$3,700 tight end.
It's Everett. But you already have Allen.
Njoku, now we're back to. Freiermuth by himself. What?
Yeah, it's possible.
Who cares?
Yeah, instead of the Austin play.
Well, Austin's not even in this lineup.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, see, that's the point. Instead of we've been using Austin everywhere, now you get away with something like this. 28, 29. Oh,
Yeah, there you go. You go Richardson with Downs, and
Yep.
Kyron Williams is the run back. James Cook with Waddle. Allen with Myers. Freiermuth is the tight end, and Brown's D.
yeah, and just leave
$300 on the table.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that better than the Pickett one.
Yeah, I mean Richardson has a real ceiling if he's
Yeah.
himself. Like that's the thing. That's why I was asking, could we get to that? I also want to see Granson in here. Granson's 3,000.
Okay, does that do anything for us?
I'm trying to see if it gets me Waddle. It gets me 8,300 now as an option.
What does that do for us?
It doesn't look like much.
Yeah, that's the
Unless you
problem.
liked Eckler, in which case it would get us like
Could you turn Keenan into Eckler in that circumstance?
Ooh.
But then we can't play the running backs we want to play, can we?
Oh, this is good. Here you go.
Let's hear it.
Richardson, Downs, Granson with Williams. You get your James Cook, Waddle. You get your Jacoby Myers, Eckler with Cleveland.
So James Cook, Waddle. Okay, let me try this for a second. So Keenan Allen's not in this lineup.
You went to Eckler instead.
We went to Eckler instead, and we still get Waddle in there.
You still get both the mini stacks.
Because
you get Cook, Waddle.
Freiermuth is Granson.
Yeah, you get Myers with Eckler,
Oh, yeah.
and then you get the 4-man, and then you land on your D that you want.
I like that.
That's actually nice too.
How do these project, by the way? Poor?
Not as bad. This one, when you go to Granson, goes down a little bit because also Eckler, Granson don't get the best projection. Eckler's not getting the best projection right now because we're still waiting on stuff and seeing. And then how does who else? What's the plan?
Well, let's say that we get to Sunday, and that is a later game, so you're not going to know. So I think that will depreciate his, unless it's like said Saturday afternoon. It's like, oh, he's for sure playing, no limitations. But it does sound like there's going to be questions around his availability. So I think that depreciates his value this week in terms of like he'll be a late swap guy potentially if people have enough money. Like
you can just leave the money and play Allen at that point because
you could or no, I think that he would be more of a late swap onto guy.
Yes,
like if McCaffrey teams are way behind, knowing that everyone has McCaffrey, they might just turn McCaffrey into.
Is Kamara in the morning? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Is there anybody else? Zach Moss. It's in the morning. Yeah, either way, it's another way to get different. I just thought that was a good build. Like you're still getting all the pieces, the mini stacks that you wanted. You don't have anybody from San Francisco, but you can't play someone from everywhere. That's the other thing too.
Can't play everyone, right? So let's legitimately do this Chargers Las Vegas side. And who do we want it to go with as our cheap guy?
So you want to go with Herbert?
Yeah, Herbert, Allen, and Myers.
Okay.
Do we need anyone else? Or do we just play these three? And then figure it out from there. Because then you can go like Cook, Kieran,
I think, is fine. I think we're going Cook because we're not on that spot. Do you want a Miami game in Waddle? You've mentioned him. I think he would be the natural.
See, it's not so much that I independently like Waddle. I like Waddle as a part of Bills and Miami stacks because I think that people will find the money. He's in between Hill and Mostert, right? So if you have Hill and you know, like Hill is too expensive, like, well, I can just use Mostert instead. And then you save even more money than just dropping down to Waddle. Mm-hmm. So I think he's the meat of the sandwich, but it's like he's a vegetarian. Whoever's playing them, they're just going to throw the meat out and play the bread.
One thing I would say,
sucking them carbs.
It's a great analogy. You could move off Cleveland in this one, $100 less, and play Buffalo with Cook, and just say, look, we're not on Miami in this spot. We're going to play for Buffalo to score, get ahead, and then just tee off. I'm not on Hill. I'm not on Waddle independently. I don't need a mini stack, Mostert, etc. Or
Durham Smythe.
Go back to the well.
Everyone went to it last week. Didn't work. Why not now?
Plug them in. 3,000. We can do that version. I don't hate it. And then we probably do just get Cleveland in there because we can change it later.
Yeah. And listen, if you don't like Cleveland,
I like Cleveland.
There are myriad options here.
If you wanted to be different in this build, it's a way to do it, is all I'm saying. And then what happens if you plug in Downs on the opposite side of Williams?
Do we need Downs?
Maybe I'm just looking for some natural ease of build. Like what do we got here?
And what's hold on one sec. $4,200. Who's $4,200?
Ooh. We already have Myers in the line. I was gonna say you land on Jacobs or Olave.
I was gonna try to play Pittman instead of Downs.
Yeah, do that. Let's do that.
Pittman's 65. Now you only have 4,200 left, and it's not good.
Yeah, we landed there earlier, and it was pretty ugly.
So we'll put Downs in to get the other side of that. Do we want to play Puka at all?
Yeah. We didn't talk a lot about that game besides Williams right now, but Williams is going to pick up steam.
Well, so you said you love Olave, right?
He fits that one. That's what I said. Olave made sense there.
So Olave makes sense here, or Derrick Henry. Playing Cincinnati, who can't stop anyone on the ground.
Let's see. Put Keenan
and no one's playing Derrick Henry.
No one's playing Henry anywhere, any time right now.
So you go Herbert, Williams, Cook, Allen and Myers, Josh Downs, Durham Smythe, Derrick Henry, Browns D.
Yep.
Or Derrick Henry can easily be Chris Olave.
Which I like both. I think it's fine. And it depends on, too, what I see picking up steam as the week goes on. Like, again, Kamara is 6,100. The more people may look into that stuff we're talking about, I don't see it right now, at least. But who knows
I don't think that people are going to play him.
Me neither. But I'm saying you never know by the end of the weekend.
He's been good.
Then I would like Olave more, though, if he did pick up steam. So I don't hate it, but the one thing here is, like, if you want to play another Charger, like I think people are playing Allen with Palmer, or they're playing something along those lines and then running
Do
it
you
back.
have a preference?
Yeah, my preference is to play, if Jimmy G plays, is to play Jimmy G with Adams and Myers and then run it back with someone on the other side.
Okay. Who would be the run back on the other side, do you think?
Probably Allen.
Okay, let's build that.
Okay.
Jimmy?
See if he's in there, yeah.
Here, well, let's build one more. Let's do a Chargers triple first.
Okay.
Because we keep just trying to jam in Cook and Williams in every single lineup. We don't need to do that. Instead of Josh Downs, Palmer? Or do you want to go Johnson?
Let's see what Palmer gets.
Or do you
us
want to
first.
play Everett at tight end? Because then we don't need to play Durham Smythe.
I think we can find another tight end.
Well, Granson's the same price.
That too.
3,000.
I kind of like going the way to see how it looks is where most people will be able to afford and get to. And like, I don't think it's the worst build. Like you're saying, like just go with it is Herbert, Allen, Palmer, Jacoby Myers. Use up all three of your wide receiver spots. And if we can somehow later in a second get to Devontae Adams, I don't know if we will be able to, but let's use our other spots like we were using them before.
What if it's not Jacoby Myers? What if it's Josh Jacobs?
Definitely another way to build it.
Because
Yes.
Josh Jacobs feels to me like the piece of this game that's going to get overlooked. Because he's expensive-ish. Like, if you're going to find all the money, you'd probably find it for Devontae to do. Like, the Chargers can't stop anyone on the ground.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Jacobs definitely looks fine.
So let's take out Myers, and let's take out all of our running backs and just start with this skeleton.
I'm just going back to what we've been doing because it kind of makes sense to me at least. And just
You
seeing
could
what
overload. You could play
4,400, or if you go Cook,
you go Williams.
it's 40. Is there a guy at 44 or 4,600?
Robert
at tight
Woods.
end? Goddard.
Tank Dell is actually right there, too.
No, I'm looking at this lineup because this is just what we've been doing. I was trying this actually projects really well. Herbert, Allen, Palmer with Jacobs. You get our Williams Downs play in there. You still can get Mostert or Cook with Cleveland D and Dallas Goedert. And Dallas Goedert, like you said earlier, definitely could be a guy that's in play. So it just depends on if you like Mostert or Cook more.
Who do you like more?
I think I like Cook. Like I said, I'm comfortable on the other side if I have to change it up.
And you can always finagle your defense too. We still have Browns D in at $2,800. This leaves $200 on the table. You could get up to $3,000, which would leave you at, let's see here.
New England?
Yeah, New England's actually not a terrible play here. The Rams, although
Doesn't matter really against Downs, but you could do it. It doesn't matter to me there. I think I'm just fine just leaving the money. I like Cleveland here.
yeah, Colts against the Rams as well.
You could also just do the Buffalo thing here because we just didn't end up getting to a Miami spot. It leaves $300 or look for another upgrade somewhere. But
Do you say this lineup projects pretty well?
yeah, definitely. I mean, Goddard actually has 2 touchdowns in him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Possible for sure.
And he's now in that dead spot of just like people are not going to use him. They'll use him as a part of Philly stacks. He is most definitely not going to be a one-off tight end.
That's what I mean. So when you've got, if Herbert's having his ceiling game with Allen and Palmer, and it is Josh Jacobs on the other side that's speeding that up or making it happen through a couple touchdowns on the ground, you have a guy in Goddard who can get a couple. You've got the Williams Downs as like the cheap value play in another game that you know is good. And then for your 54-point total or 54.5, whatever it is, I've got right now James Cook and Buffalo D. You could play Browns D. You could play wherever you want. I'm just saying that gives you an idea of why, pretty much, again, covering every game except San Francisco in this spot for what we're looking at on the slate.
So in terms of totals, it's Buffalo, Miami above all else. Then it's Vegas and the Chargers. Then you have a collection of like a whole bunch of different games. I want to get your take on. And then you have Philly and San Francisco with super high team totals in games against crappy teams. And
Yep.
so the other side is low. Probably don't want much of Cincinnati, Tennessee. But if there ever is a Joe Burrow get-right game, it's against this secondary that can't stop anyone.
Yeah.
Like the very logical Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, or T. Higgins, whoever it might be, with Derrick Henry on the way back, is how that game gets over.
Yep, 41-point total, so it's scaring people away some. But I think Chase on his own, I think they moved him to the slot last week from everything I saw.
They were just like, where can you stand that Joe Burrow can throw you the ball? Because we're going to try that. And it worked.
And you have to think, too, the calf does still look pretty bad, but that's what made it look pretty good, was when you just say, get the ball to Jamar Chase and see what he can do. And when they started doing that in the second half, obviously that helped a ton, and Chase goes off, has a good game. So definitely like him even if you want to use him as a one-off here. But to your point, Boyd popped up in the optimal. We just made a case for Chase, the case for Chase.
Which means T. Higgins week.
Yeah, the guy dropped the ball 3 times.
That's how it works.
The
in these
best ever one
situations.
was like T. Higgins goes to the locker room and the number one comment under it was like, yeah, to wipe the butter off his fingers. Like, guy was just so bad. Dropped, I think, 3 balls last week. So
Here are the other games of interest in terms of team total. Minnesota, Carolina, 46.5 total. Denver and Chicago, 46.5 total. Rams and Colts, 46. I mean, me looking at it, I just much prefer the Rams and Colts. I think that's very easy to stack up if you wanted to.
yeah, and we didn't go there, but if you go like again, we didn't talk about it enough. But
Stafford.
Williams is super popular. We have to go to the Stafford side
So
to
let's-
leverage.
that-
It's
that-
Nakua,
that's exactly-
Atwell, whoever you want to do. Like, that's the way to do it.
So let's try that. Let's do that right now. That'll be the last thing that we do, unless you really want to build like Russell Wilson lineups or Justin Fields lineups.
I actually don't.
Me neither.
So
But maybe
if those beat me.
you know what? Maybe Denver D is the ultimate flop leg here.
It's gonna be. Oh, imagine that. I think it's gonna be Herbert though, but we'll see. You want to do Nakua Atwell?
Yeah,
That's what I like.
that's exactly.
Atwell feels like he should have 3 touchdowns.
Well,
last
I
game.
mean, with Williams, maybe that's just a different. Like how chalky do you think that Kyron Williams gets? Is he going to be the most popular running back on the slate?
I think so.
I think so too. How often do you think he'll be a part of Ram stacks?
Not as often as he
And
should be.
he's getting all these targets, whatever it might be. It'd be like playing Bryce Young with Miles Sanders because he's like actually their leading receiver after Adam Thielen. So maybe we go Stafford, Puka, and Williams instead of Atwell. I mean, Atwell might be actually the right play here. I just want to try to build this out a little bit. And Zach Moss back the other way, or maybe this is a spot to actually use Pittman for the first time. He's been good every game.
Yeah, I just want to stack everybody in this game if I'm doing it.
All right, and okay, let's go with Granson then too.
What's that leave us?
We have $5,500 per player, which easily fits in Browns D. Now, we've been talking about Browns D the entire time, but we have not been talking about Jerome Ford. If Deion Jackson just got signed, Kareem Hunt is banged up. I mean, Ford's a bit banged up as well, but I don't like him personally, but if we keep playing Browns D, he could be in the mix.
This lineup pops off the page. You can pick your choice of Pollard or Chase, who we just talked about, Jamar.
Could you go Cook and Mostert as well?
I don't know. I'm just messing around, but you can overstack this game and play a lot of points. It projects really well too.
Who else is $6,500?
Who do you have right now? Stafford, Williams.
Stafford, Williams, Puka with Pittman and Granson.
Okay, no Zach Moss.
No Zach Moss, and then I have James Cook and Mostert, and with Browns D, and I still have $6,500 left. Now, if you turn Pittman into Downs, you have $9,500, and you can play any wide receiver you want, except for Jefferson. You're $100 short of Jefferson.
So Stafford, Mostert, Williams, Pittman, Nakua, Granson, and then the other flex was Cook, right?
Yes, but I took out Pittman and played Downs instead to free up all that money.
Fair,
And
let's do
this
that.
way you can get Christian or you can't get Christian McCaffrey because you need a receiver. But Diggs, Tyreek, I guess that doesn't really work out if it's just going to be a receiver. Back up to Pittman it is. $6,500 for a receiver now.
Pittman. And then 6,500 leaves us not in the best zone, does it?
No, it's that middle range wide receiver, which is not great. Like Godwin. I mean, Godwin could have a huge game against New Orleans.
Yeah, I want to pull this back. I want to get Kieran out
Okay.
and go back to I want to leverage the whole thing if I'm doing it.
Okay, so wide receiver Atwell,
We could still keep our 2 running backs.
Mostert, and Cook.
Yeah. Like
Do you
said.
like that idea as if you're not going to go to that game?
The 2 things I
Like-
like are either that, like I said from the very beginning when you asked me what I liked about that game, so the running backs, and the other angle I said is just getting one of them out of there because I don't like Mostert as much as I like Cook, and I would just go Cook with the Buffalo D. But I'm fine with it here because also, like you said, we're just sort of flipping off of that, and this is, I mean, we're almost closing it out for this lineup anyway. What does 7,000 get us?
Derrick Henry or Mike Evans or Debo? Debo is super interesting here if he's fine. Because if Ayuk is still banged up, and they're just like, hey, go nuts, Debo.
I like Debo if he plays.
I think he's going to play. But we don't
Okay.
know that right now, obviously.
Downs, now let's go Downs. And see what that
So
does.
Pittman instead of Downs? Or Downs
Downs
instead
instead
of
of
Pittman?
Pittman leaves us 10,000.
Yeah, so we can get McCaffrey, no problem. And
So
we
if I
can,
go McCaffrey, I can also upgrade the D to 3,600.
which is Saints D against Tampa, which is pretty good.
Or Minnesota versus Carolina.
I think I like St. Steve versus Tampa more than Minnesota D against Carolina.
I think so too.
I mean, this lineup is not great, but
Still projects okay.
but you're leveraging off of the chalkiest running back on the slate.
You don't. The problem with this, the only thing I see with this lineup is, again, we're always seemingly having to make one switch. Is now we got to San Francisco's team total with McCaffrey, but we don't have any Vegas Chargers, which we love. We literally stack that second.
But
So-
again, you can't play everyone. We haven't like basically the only Philly player that we've played this entire time has been we played Goddard in one lineup. Like that's another huge team total against a shitty defense.
Granson or Downs.
I like Downs, but that's me.
So I'm just gonna make one more move off everything you just said.
Play Ertz with McCaffrey.
No, I'm gonna try and get back to what you'd originally liked with Myers and Allen.
Is that possible?
Do we have a 43? Oh, who's our tight end that we like? Kittle.
I guess so.
I think I have it. Yeah, here's what I got. Boom, found it.
Who do we lose? Downs, Puka, or Atwell?
You're gonna love this lineup. So am I. So this is these skinny stacks, man. They've been working out. You go Stafford, Nakua,
Yeah.
as your leverage to Williams.
So we get rid of Atwell. That's
you
the
didn't
move.
like Atwell, so you like Downs over Granson.
Yeah.
I get James Cook and Mostert. I get Myers
Browns
and
D.
Keenan Allen.
And
I
Browns
get
D.
Kittle from San Francisco, and then the Browns D, and we've covered all those games with at least a small piece of it. But I mean, this is going to be very likely a competitive lineup. It just depends on does it get there all the way. But
Does Stafford get that? Basically, this lineup is predicated on Williams doesn't score the touchdowns. Matt Stafford does.
yes, and also saying that I should say it a different way. Like we have no idea. This could score nothing and suck. I'm saying, but it's built in a way that can leverage the slate in some cases, mix in some of the pieces from the other games against what other people are doing, and still give you a shot, focusing in on all those good game environments and totals on paper. What actually ends up happening is a totally different story, but nobody knows. We're just building the puzzle before it exists. We don't get the front of page. I say this all the time. We don't got the front page of the puzzle box. We don't know what the answer is till Monday. So for now, this is the best version we can build of it, and I really like that one to end on.
All right. Prop Sniper at runthesims.com. I'll give away the best one right now. Jerick McKinnon under 10.5 rushing yards against the Jets on Sunday night. Minus 110 under minus 10.5.
Because they got to get Kelsey all that action for the Swifties.
They do. And it's just hard to run on the Jets.
That too. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good game.
And Jerick doesn't run the ball anyway, really. Like that could be one rush and he hits us over and you feel like an idiot, but it's never fun betting unders. Sam Howell rushing yards against Philadelphia rates out really well too.
I didn't get the Tim takes yet for that game, but
he's just sad.
But Survivor, people are going to play Kansas City on the road. Oh, they're 8.5 point thing. And then the Jets D just shows up and does their job.
I picked the Jets ATS, so
I like it.
I did not take Kansas City. I'm the only one left in Survivor, so
Yeah.
I've already won. But I'm going to keep going for the peoples out there. I think I took San Francisco. No, I took San Francisco last week. Took someone good this week.
Yeah. Stop saving teams.
I never save teams,
Yeah.
and I mean that's a better strategy in a very small field Survivor league. I've kind of teased the free Survivor league. I have been told that we might do a restart in week 6 with $5,000 up top, completely free.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
That's something I might be interested in.
there we go. Give it to the people over at shipitnation.com. Give
Get
it wherever
everybody in there.
you're at. Shipitnation.com, code Mayo to get a discount. Code Mayo at runthesims.com. Pair them together. Boom. Win the Millionaire Maker like you.
That's what you got to do. That's the key. I always says people ask me about both. Obviously, we're good partners with you guys. Justin over there at Run the Sims. It's a great tool. Use it a ton for Showdown. I know not everybody can afford all the tools, but that's our goal at Ship It Nation is keep it, pay less for content, play more contests. That's the key, and that's what we try and do. So the price is good. Mayo gets you 10% off any of the monthly plans all the way up to the top for annual. So you guys can check it out, but it's got every sport we cover over there. Everything included in that one price.
Ship It Nation crew will be back on Sunday morning on Mayo Media Network, completely free. All you need to do is to be a sub of Mayo Media Network. Just click that button. You can ask any question to them you want. I mean, if your question sucks, you'll get banned for life, but them's the breaks, I suppose. So smash like and play in the Listeners League while you were here, and I want to thank you all for watching. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!